Good afternoon from the Development Faction podcast. Today we are focusing on AI in education. Today's guest is Dr. An Lei. Let's give her a proper introduction. Dr. Lei graduated with a Bachelor's of Science degree from Baylor University, a Master's of Education with an emphasis in special education, and a Doctor of Education with an emphasis in educational leadership from Sam Houston State University. Dr. Lei, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. Glad to be here.
Okay. So can you tell the audience about your journey in the world of AI and education?
Absolutely. So a little bit about me. I have always been the reluctant one on change, and it takes me a little longer to get on board with any change as it is, whether it's CDs to DVDs to VHS to DVDs, all that. So with AI, I was reluctant as well, but my journey in itself has been very eye-opening, and it's just amazing. The journey to AI in education wasn't really sparked by any single aha moment, but rather by a series of insights, each revealing how technology can extend the reach of human potential. While AI was originally built to process vast amounts of data, its deeper value in education became clear when I saw how I could tailor learning experiences, reduce barriers to access, and also empower educators to teach more effectively. One pivotal moment came when I realized how AI could support students who often face the greatest challenges, those in foster care, learners with disabilities, and even military-connected students who experience frequent transitions. These students often navigate complex educational paths, and AI has the capacity to adapt tools to their unique needs. So through predictive analytics, personalized learning paths, and just responsible AI-driven interventions, we're seeing how technology can help foster resilience, academic growth in ways that were previously out of reach. Another breakthrough was witnessing how AI could elevate program evaluations and professional development for educators and administrators alike. Rather than simply collecting data, AI can help educators really interpret it, translating numbers into actionable insight. And this allows for continuous improvement where strategies evolve based on real world outcomes and learner feedback. So ultimately, I feel like my role is to support the innovators, the educators, the program designers, the leaders. These are the people who are building more dynamic and responsive learning environments. And so AI isn't really replacing the human element, it's just enhancing it, helping us reimagine what's possible in education. That was long. I'm sorry.
Oh, no. That's amazing. But dissecting that just a little bit more, what was the aha moment that made you realize that AI could play a transformative role in learning environments, highlighting your experience within the special education emphasis within your degrees?
Yeah, absolutely. So I didn't know it because I was just, in the process, so engrossed in the students' learning. But when I was a teacher, I was mainly a special education, self-contained, a special education teacher for the severely disabled. And so these are the students that rarely have opportunities to go out into their general education setting. And if they do, it's for PE, art, and music, no academic settings, because nobody saw their potential in being able to grasp any of the grade level materials. And so that was very saddening to me because my little brother was the very model of the students that I was teaching. And I kept seeing my little brother in all of the students that I had. And so I was always trying to find ways to be able to increase their access, remove these barriers. And so I started working with our assistive technology specialist in the district. And I just kept saying, hey, do you have something I can try? And I just kept trying everything. And, some worked, some didn't. And what really worked was a lot of my students were nonverbal. A lot of my students were wheelchair bound. They were quadriplegic. And so they had little use with their hands and feet. And so I'm like, but what about eye gaze? And so we're test trying this eye gaze technology. And sure enough, as I'm learning, as I'm teaching this student, like we're learning together, and simple little responses, simple little requests, the student was making choices. And so soon we started test trying it to expand on that. And I was able to get the student into the general education classroom. And what's really unique is I was able to collaborate with the general education teacher. Some were open to it, some were not. But we pre planned opportunities for my students to participate in some of the pop up questions. Teachers would go around and ask students to answer a question. And so what we did was we pre programmed the device to be able to have certain choices for the student to choose. And we spent time asking questions ahead of this moment. But the wonderful thing was when that student was called and nobody in the classroom knew that this was pre-planned, not even the student themselves. And the teacher asked the student the question and we were patient and giving that wait time. The student was able
Mhm.
to respond and it was such a celebrated moment within everyone in that classroom, the non-disabled peers, the student itself, and the teachers alike. So that was my celebratory moment. And it's like, this is the potential of AI. This is the potential of all these technologies that we are soon going to be seeing in the classroom.
So it's almost like you're unlocking a different horizon using this performative technology that is literally altering the way that students with disabilities, as well as general education students, comprehensive students, are also leaning into AI as well. And that also shifts into focus my next question. How do you see AI reshaping the way that teachers deliver instruction, how students engage with content? Like you were saying, the eye gaze technology was helped that learner or those group of learners enhance their abilities to interact with the class. So how do you see teachers delivering instruction and students engaging with the content?
So AI is transforming both teachers and students alike. For teachers, delivering that instruction, for students engaging with the content, AI is making learning environment more adaptive, more efficient, and more personalized. For educators, AI acts as a powerful, I would say like a co-pilot, automating routine tasks like grading, tracking student progress, generating performance insights. This actually allows teachers to shift their focus from administrative burdens to what matters most, which is building meaningful relationships with their coworkers and the students, encouraging critical thinking, and also responding to students' needs in real time. With AI, instruction becomes more informed, responsive, and this enables educators to tailor their approach based on real data rather than assumptions. Now, for students, AI opens the doors to more engaging, personalized learning experience through intelligent tutoring systems or real time feedback. And even adaptive content delivery, learners can interact with materials in ways that align to their individual pace, preferences, and learning styles. So, whether it's through voice or visuals, simulations, or platforms, AI helps to make learning more immersive and relevant. So ultimately, AI really isn't, it's not meant to replace the teacher or the student. It's just enhancing the roles. It's about creating a more dynamic, student centered learning environment where technology supports the deeper understanding and more meaningful engagement.
And I think as teachers as well, that's where we want to go with that deeper understanding.
Mhm.
And what do you think are some specific ways AI is helping not only educators, but administrators personalize learning at scale for their districts or for their schools?
Personalization at scale is one of AI's most transformative contributions to education. I mean, like I said, it analyzes vast amounts of learner data in real time, enabling instructions to be tailored not just for the classroom, but individual students at scale. So, some specific examples would be like that adaptive learning systems. They dynamically adjust the difficulty, the pacing, the sequencing of content based on each of the students' performance. This actually encourages learners to stay on their optimal zone of development, which is challenging but not discouraging. Natural language processing tools supports multilingual, language diverse learners. This by offering like real-time translation, vocabulary support, contextual explanations, and this helps them to access complex material more confidently. I mean, a few more examples. Predictive analytics, which I mentioned before, it identifies patterns in students' behavior and performances, which allows educators to spot early signs of disengagement or struggles. It's able to pick up on cues in which signaling the teachers that, hey, we need to pay attention because there's a decline in the student's performance. There could be something going on that we're not aware of. AI can do that, which enables timely targeted interventions before the small issues become major setbacks. So when implementing thoughtfully and ethically, AI doesn't really replace that human connection in education, it just enhances it.
And going back to cognitive growth and feedback loops, how can AI provide real time feedback that actually helps the student learn, but also how the student can proceduralize learning, like investigating the how in what they are learning?
Absolutely. AI really is reshaping learning, not just what they're learning, but how they're learning, that metacognitive skills, the ability to reflect on, evaluate, adjust their own thinking. One of the major components is that immediate feedback loop. This allows AI to go beyond simply flagging what is right or wrong when they have an answer choice. Instead, it can prompt students to revisit their reasoning, identify patterns in their mistakes, and refine their problem solving strategies. This method here allows them to not just realize, oh, my answer is wrong, but helps to support them to do better the next time, fix their mistakes, and maybe expand on what they originally put on the paper to submit. AI powered tutoring systems offers personalized hints and step-by-step scaffolding. Rather than giving away the answer, they guide students through a process, encouraging that deeper understanding and persistence. Reflective learning prompts. These are generated by AI and can help students to explain their thinking, compare their strategies, or predict outcomes, which nudges our learners to become more aware of how they approach tasks and how they can improve. And lastly, that progress analytics gives students a visual representative of their learning journey, and it helps them to recognize their growth over time, because sometimes we're just so deep in that learning and getting that right or getting that wrong. We don't see the growth that we actually accomplished. And so those visual representations that AI can provide gives them a very clear picture of where they're growing, how they're growing, and the amount in which they're growing, where it's hard to see when you're in that moment. So encouraging students to pause, reflect, and adjust. AI helps them to become more self-directed learners, which is an essential skill, not just for academic success, but lifelong learning in itself.
So, do you think that with all of the AI products or systems that are out there, do you think it encourages or discourages deep thinking and creativity for students? Why?
So this is always going to be an ongoing debate for the people who are for AI and the people who are against AI. Whether or not AI encourages or discourages deep thinking and creativity, it depends entirely on how it's integrated into the learning process. So when used thoughtfully, AI can be a powerful catalyst for intellectual explorations and innovation. AI can enhance creativity by exposing students to diverse perspectives, generating thought-provoking prompts, and even offering new ways to visualize or approach problems. It can also automate repetitive tasks like formatting citations, summarizing notes, freeing up time and mental space for deeper inquiry and original thinking. Now, in terms of supporting deep thinking by helping students test hypotheses, explore what if scenarios, and receiving that real time feedback that we talked about. It challenges them. These things challenge them to refine their reasoning, and it can simulate that Socratic questioning, encouraging learners to really reflect more critically on their assumptions. However, the risk lies in over reliance. So when students use AI to shortcut their learning process rather than engage with it, that's where that over reliance is going to come in. Instant answers without context can discourage curiosity, that critical analysis, and also the productive struggle that often leads to meaningful learning. So ultimately, we're talking about a balance. Like everything in life, there should be a balance. AI should be a partner in the learning journey and not a substitute for it. So use it ethically and intentionally, and it can cultivate curiosity, adaptability, and deeper engagement with ideas.
And do you think it starts with the pedagogical knowledge of the actual teacher using AI and how they use AI in the classroom? Does that lend anything towards what we were just talking about the discouraging of deeper thinking or creativity?
I think so. I think it really does start with the adult because we are their models. Like they're the students. We're learning as well as adults, but it's up to us to set that precedence of how you're learning to incorporate AI into your day to day, or how you use it, whether you're over relying yourself as an adult or um, It's just your perspective, your mindset, and just the way that you present AI. That's what the students is going to pick up. So if the teacher is modeling positive intentionality with AI, most likely the student will approach it in that manner as well. So I think it is going to be dependent on us as adults to be able to be that positive role model.
So this hits our next theme, which is resilience and student agency, because of course those are two very important elements when we're having this discussion for AI in education. So, in what ways can AI tools help students build academic grit, especially when they struggle?
It's a power. AI can play a powerful role in this by supporting that perseverance, that resilience, that growth mindset, especially during moments of struggle. So rather than offering shortcuts, well-designed AI tools actually encourage students to engage with challenges productively, and this is what we need. Um, in the age of technology, there's a lot of that what we call that instant gratification. AI can take it a step further if used intentionally by encouraging going through those challenges and digging deeper into it. So some of the ways that I could discuss is that adaptive learning system from before, like that adjusting of difficulty of tasks. So when we can present a task to the student and we can see that they're successful, what we're going to do is up their game, right? We're going to up that level of difficulty. And so we continue to challenge them, but just enough to where we're not discouraging them from learning or they give up so quickly. So scaffolding builds that confidence and it keeps learners in that productive struggle zone that we talked about, challenged but not overwhelmed. With the AI powered platforms, the approach reinforces that problem solving skills and it encourages that persistence, helping students learn how to work through obstacles rather than avoiding them. So we us as adults, as educators, we need to be able to create that structured supportive environment. AI can help students not only overcome academic challenges but really develop habits and mindsets that they need for long-term success later in life.
And I totally agree with that, because in the classroom now in the 21st century, we have to develop the model for self-regulation. So do you see that fostering more student independence, or are there risks to over-reliance? I know that we've covered the over-reliance part, but do you see AI fostering a more student independent classroom or environment?
Yes. Well, okay. So AI does have the potential to foster that student independence by enabling self paced learning and personalized feedback. And also the on demand support. So, like I was saying before, that balance. So, it has to be intentional and very well thought on how we use our AIs. The tools, they can empower students by taking ownership of their learning, explore topics more deeply, and build confidence navigating challenges on their own. That risk that we talked about over reliance, if we're using it again as a shortcut rather than a support system, that builds that over reliance and that's going to take students down the wrong path. So when students begin to depend on AI for answers without engaging in the underlying thinking process, this can undermine that critical thinking, creativity, problem solving phase of their learning. So the key is intentional integration. AI should complement, not replace active learning strategies. So we need to pair the thoughtful instructional design as educators, and AI can encourage that curiosity, the reflection, that self-regulation, and then also help students guide the students without doing the thinking for them. In short, I would say AI can be a powerful tool for independence, but only when used to support and not substitute the learning journey.
And the educator in the classroom would have to actually structuralize that environment for the student, so that way they take
Mhm.
away the over reliance and they can rely on the knowledge that's being taught at the time.
Yeah.
So going into teacher support and burnout, how can AI reduce stress and burnout for teachers to improve student outcomes?
AI has that potential to be able to reduce teacher stress and burnout while simultaneously enhancing the student learning. AI can be a time saver, a strategic partner in the classroom, and that's through things like automating administrative tasks like grading, attendance tracking, lesson planning, and allowing the teacher to reclaim valuable time and mental energy on what matters the most, and that is active student learning and teaching. and building those relationships with the students. This shift actually enables them to focus more on those high impact activities, the mentoring, the differentiated instruction, the classroom engagement. What we're seeing nowadays is the amount of, I would say, ask of a student from the administrators and from the field itself. The accountability piece for teachers is a lot. You didn't see this decades ago, but we are in an era of education where it is about documentation and it is about data and it is about accountability, and it just seems to get more and more. So when you can pair AI tools into doing those administrative tasks, attendance tracking, like I said, the grading, it helps with the burnout. It helps reduce the stress because the amount of energy and time that a teacher puts into those tasks takes away from why they got into the field of education themselves, and that is to impact learning of students. AI-powered analytics provide real-time insight into student performance. So not only that, with the data collection, with the data analysis, AI can help teachers to identify learning gaps early, so that they can adjust those instructions accordingly, which then reduces the guesswork, emotional toll of trying to meet every student's needs without adequate support. When we talk about calendars and scheduling, intelligent scheduling and workload management tools can help balance assignments, reduce bottlenecks, and prevent burnout by optimizing how and when tasks are distributed. So by streamlining those operational side of teaching and enhancing instructional precision, AI really helps to create a more sustainable teaching environment, one where educators can thrive and students can succeed.
And going back to that instructional precision, which I totally believe in as well, can AI play a role in helping teachers identify early signs of student engagement or emotional struggles within the content that can lead itself to other things that they're not seeing?
Absolutely. AI can play meaningful role in helping teachers identify early signs of disengagement, emotional challenges when used thoughtfully and responsibly. It has the capacity to be able to do behavioral pattern analysis, and that is AI can track changes in student engagement over time, such as reduced participation, missed assignments, declining performances, and flag these shifts for early intervention. There's a sentiment analysis where AI can analyze the tone and language of written assignments. They get used to the way that a student uses their words. And so any shifts in that over time, they can detect those changes. In their written assignments, the discussion posts, messages in their virtual space, detecting signs of frustration, confusion, emotional distress that might otherwise go unnoticed. And then there's multimodal cues. When ethically implemented in virtual hybrid settings, AI can assess that voice tone, facial expression, and interaction patterns to help identify students who may be struggling emotionally or socially. So that human connection remains irreplaceable, though. That's something that I do want to emphasize. AI should serve as a support system, not a surveillance tool. The role in which it plays is to empower educators with timely, data informed insights so that they can respond with empathy, context, and care. So, used ethically, AI can help teachers to intervene early so that they can personalize their support and create a more responsive and emotionally attuned learning environment for their students.
And I think when AI is improved ethically, of course, from the teachers all the way up to the administration, there are some questions about accessibility and equity. So, how do you think AI is helping students with disabilities and language barriers learning more equitably?
By removing those barriers that have traditionally limited the learning opportunities for these students. Like I had mentioned about that eye gaze, if we never try that eye gaze tool, that student is probably going to continue to be in that self contained classroom, not given that opportunity to interact with their general education peers. Because what research has told us is we learn from our peers, and our peers are our greatest teachers. So if a self-contained student with severe cognitive disabilities is stuck in a classroom all day long, every day, learning from other disabled peers on the same or lower level, that's all they're going to learn. Their growth is diminished. We have to find ways to be able to open up opportunities and increase the access for our students, regardless of the level of disability. finding meaningful opportunities of positive participation, not just sitting in a general education classroom and doing an alternative assignment, but really engaging and participating to their ability what their non-disabled students are doing. So that adaptive learning tools personalize the content delivery based on the individual needs for students who may have reading difficulties, adjusting the reading levels, the pacing, the formats to support diverse learning profiles. We have speech to text and text to speech technologies, which empower students with visual, auditory, or motor impairments to be able to engage in content more independently. And these tools convert the spoken language into written text and vice versa, making communication and comprehension more seamless. We've got translation and language supports for our multilingual learners. We have assistive AI tutors who provide personalized guidance through alternative formats, such as audio narration and interactive visuals. We got to look at students individually and how we can remove those barriers and just increase the access. So, integrating these tools thoughtfully, AI is not just enhancing access, it's empowering students to be able to participate more fully, confidently, and independently in their learning journeys.
And what are some examples of AI increasing inclusion in underserved communities?
So, AI is helping to expand educational inclusion in underserved communities, but it's through addressing systemic barriers and delivering scalable, cost effective support. So, when implemented thoughtfully, it can help level the playing field in several key ways. Automated grading and feedback reduces that administrative burden on overextended teachers, especially in under resourced schools, allowing those teachers to focus more on student engagement and instructions. Free and low cost AI tutoring platforms can also provide personalized academic support to students who may not have access to private tutoring or enrichment programs. Language inclusive content generation enables the creation of learning materials in language and dialects, supporting students from diverse linguistic backgrounds. We've got early warning signs that are powered by AI, which can detect signs of disengagement or dropout risk by analyzing attendance, performance, behavior data, which then again allows educators to provide timely targeted interventions before students fall too far behind. And then also, AI can help schools to allocate resources such as devices, internet access, specialized staff more effectively based on real time needs and usage patterns. So, when used ethically and transparently, AI really can become a powerful ally in bridging those academic gaps, helping to ensure that all students, regardless of the background or geography, to have access to meaningful learning opportunities.
And when we're talking about barriers coming down, do you think that AI will continue to do this in terms of it being a parabolic move forward where we start to see AI introducing certain concepts to underserved communities? Do you think that that this is only the tip of the iceberg regarding some of these examples you cited for underserved communities?
Yeah, and my concern with that is although like the projection of where AI is going is positive, we have to be very cognizant of certain student populations. And one that comes to mind is our students in foster care, but also our students who are McKinney dental eligible or
Mhm.
students experiencing homelessness. These students, they're already facing compounded factors and barriers related to their situation, their foster care status, their homeless status, in which school and education may not be a priority for them. So the first thing that we need to do is looking at that population and how are we removing those barriers, the systematic barriers to be able to offer them stability in education first and motivation in education first, and then incorporating the AI into it so that it levels the playing field for them. These students are coming from situations where not only do they not have a home or stability, they most likely won't have the devices or the access to AI and devices that other students may have. So schools really need to be cognizant about that, the bias around there, the risk, the unequal access to these models of learning, especially when they're trying to incorporate AI into the learning and homework and things like that. What are you doing to remove that barrier for them so that they have the access? Do you have grant money, the Title I some Title III money to be able to support maybe purchasing some of these devices or tools so that these underserved populations can have the same access to the AI tools that other students are using.
And that's going into ethics and access equity. So, what concerns should we have about bias, surveillance? Because I know we talked about it earlier, where we just hinted on it, or unequal access when it comes to deploying AI in classrooms.
There are some serious concerns around that. For bias in the AI models can really reinforce existing disparities if the data used to train them reflects historical inequalities. This itself can lead to skewed curriculum recommendations, unfair assessments, and inaccurate predictions about student performance, especially for marginalized groups. That surveillance risk that you mentioned arises when AI is used to monitor student behavior, engagement, or emotions. Over reliance on facial recognition, sentiment analysis, or activity tracking can infringe on student privacy, autonomy, and trust, raising ethical questions about consent and data use. Unequal access remains a major barrier. Schools in underfunded or rural areas may lack the infrastructure, such as reliable internet devices or technical supports that are needed to fully benefit from AI tools. This digital divide can really widen existing educational gaps rather than close them. So, to mitigate these risks, AI must be deployed with transparency, accountability, and inclusivity at the forefront, which means ensuring diverse and representative training data, establishing clear policies for ethical data use and privacy protection, investing in equitable access to technology and infrastructure, and keeping educators and communities involved in the decision making. Ultimately, AI can enhance, not replace human led instruction. Its success really depends not just on what it can do, but on how thoughtfully and responsibly it's implemented.
So, I have to ask the $1 million question that we're getting to this part, and you know where this is going, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I have to ask. I mean, it's something that some of my supporters were wanting me to ask, so I'm going to have to ask it. Do
Okay.
you think when we're talking about the digital divide, do you think that AI within the next 10, let's say 10 years, let's not get
Okay.
ahead of ourselves. Do you think that AI within the next 10 years will replace teachers in the classroom?
I think,
Yeah, it's the question.
okay, so something about me, I am a Terminator fan.
We saw it. We saw it. Yeah, I am too.
Yeah. So there is a fear that AI will replace humans and make humans irrelevant. That is a human issue, right? Humanity in itself. But I think we are all smart enough and aware enough to be able to keep ourselves in check. We have a lot of people who are resistant to the AI, which helps this process, I believe, because if everybody just jumped on board, then we could lose sight of some of the gaps that we are not seeing as we're trying something new. So the resistors is actually helping the process. Now, in 10 years, I don't believe AI is going to take over. I do believe that we have enough time to be able to build on our skills as humans to be able to be knowledgeable in AI and keep ourselves relevant to where we're still needed there. Now, the people who are not going to keep up with it or who don't jump on board with it, they may become irrelevant to the process because they're not keeping up to the demands of the society as we're heading into a world full of technology. I hope AI is not going to take over. I am a big supporter of human interactions and that human touch to all things and everything in life. And so I feel like it's my duty to make that statement to where please learn about AI, support the AI process, but always keep yourselves in the process. Support the enhancement of it, but don't let it supplant the human interaction and the human touch to the process of education.
So basically, what you're telling me is that we still have time before Skynet comes. Okay.
I
Now,
love it.
going into that, if you had to make one bold prediction about the next 5 years, so we went from 10 to 5, for the next 5 years of AI in education, what do you see that's on the horizon from your vantage point, your research, your collective experience?
At a small scale, I would say the AI systems will not only automate tasks or delivery content, but really dynamically respond to student needs in real time, adjusting instructions based on the comprehension, the engagement, and emotional cues. I believe that AI will become a true co-partner in the teaching of our students in education. These systems will be able to help support teacher growth, but also student growth in providing more deeper inquiry into learning, enhancing the process, guiding students and teachers into the complex thinking processes that are involved in helping to build that metacognitive skills, not just provide answers. For educators, like I said, that trusted collaborator, lightening administrative loads, resurfacing actionable insights, and helping differentiate instructions at scale. We'll just also see some major strides in accessibility with AI ensuring that students with disabilities or language barriers receive tailored support from day one. The key challenge and opportunity will be to keep these innovations, like I said, human centered. AI should really amplify the educator's impact and not replace it. So, classrooms in the near future won't be tech enabled, it will be intelligently co led with AI and educators working side by side to unlock every learner's potential.
That's amazing. I do see the amazing part on the horizon of what it can do, but then I go back to, because I'm a historian and I love history.
Mhm.
The day after the Ford Model T came out with the gas powered combustion engine, there were still people buying horses and still riding horses. But over time, when there are only certain people riding horses, and as you can see, the traffic in where you're located, where I'm located here in El Paso, we don't see horses. We see horsepower in terms of cars, electric cars. So there is going to be an evolution, but I feel I'm very optimistic to the point, just like you are, that if we start now, then we can definitely harness the positive side of it instead of looking at it from a Skynet point of view when it comes. Now,
Aren't you glad I brought up Terminator?
yes, I do love Terminator. I love the first two, and I'm a sucker for horrible movies. And I did watch Genesis. I did with both of my eyes open. So, what advice do you give educators or district leaders who are curious but cautious about integrating actual artificial intelligence into their campus programs, district programs?
So, like I said, I will tell you from my experience, because I was hesitant with it myself. The best approach to AI in education is thoughtful experimentation. Really start small, evaluate the impact, and prioritize that ethical implementation. For educators and district leaders that are exploring AI, the key to the approach is with curiosity, caution, and clarity. AI doesn't require an all or nothing leap. It invites thoughtful experimentation. I would start with augmentation, not automation. Choose AI tools that enhance teaching, not replace it. Look for platforms that support lesson planning, feedback, or differentiation while keeping the teacher student relationship at the center. Prioritize access and inclusion, ensuring that AI tools are accessible to all students, especially those in underserved or under resourced communities. Equity and access must be a foundational consideration, not an afterthought. Really invest in digital literacy. I know we say this, but not a lot of people understand. We need to help our teachers, our educators, and students alike to understand how AI works, what it can do, what it can't do, and how to engage with it critically. This will be able to build that confidence and reduce that fear of unknown. And then piloting with purpose and transparency. Like I said, begin with a small scale pilot, involve teachers in the selection and evaluation of tools, collect that data, measure the outcome, adjust based on what works. This is a SPED process, right?
Hmm.
We
Yes.
implement something, we collect the data, we analyze it, and then we adjust. And that's how I used to see which tools work, which strategies worked within my classroom where we didn't have a lot of those resources, thought outside the box. That transparency builds that trust and ensures ethical implementation. Really stay grounded on the pedagogy. Let the instructional goals, not the technology, drive decisions. When you want to consider a tool, really ask yourself, does this tool support deeper learning? Does it align with our values and vision of student success? Ultimately, AI can be a partner in progress, but not a disruption for its own sake. So thoughtful leadership, inclusive planning, it can be a powerful ally in shaping the future of learning.
Again, the great Dr. Ann Lay. So we've reached the final call of our podcast episode. I know we could probably go on for another 2 hours.
Yes.
So, where can our listeners learn more about your work, research, or get involved in ethical, student centered practices?
So I have a consulting company, Dr. Lay Consulting. I'm also on Twitter X, Dr. Ann H. Lay, where I regularly share insights on educational innovations, program designs, and just ethics and learning environments. I do a lot of research with outside entities. And so it's just, I'm always trying to research so that I can do more for the student populations that really don't have a voice, always being that voice for the voiceless. So if you want to reach out to me, please go to Twitter is like the easiest one. My
Mhm.
webpage is linked onto my Twitter. And I really just look forward to diving deeper into any aspect of where I can help grow the student learning. I do highly recommend some of the organizations that do have some intersection with AI and education. Some that I came across is that AI Education Project, the EdTech Equity Project, and then also the Center for Integrative Research in Computing and Learning Sciences. So, at its best, AI should amplify, not replace human connection. So, let's work together to ensure that technology serves all students, supports educators, and strengthens the future of learning.
Again, my guest today, Dr. Ann Lay, thank you. Thank you for being great. Thank you for acknowledging some of the difficulties with AI. And we truly thank you for sharing your time and have a blessed day. Thank you so
All right.
much.
Thank you so much.